Ready? Right, so let's begin with a meditation. But first, let me get the right earphone. Where is this? Let's have a meditation first, okay? So, we will start with a guided relaxation for the body. So as the body relaxes and the muscles relax, then it puts us right at the door of meditation. Meditation is more than relaxation in the sense that meditation is to really focus awareness on the divine or focus awareness on awareness, right? So this exercise, the guided relaxation at the beginning, it quiets the mind so that what is left is, as much as possible, just awareness. And then we will begin by putting awareness in this center, here between the eyebrows. And from there, we will defocus into consciousness. Because in this center, we could say that there is a physical aspect to it. You can feel, if you tense the muscles, you can feel a physical aspect to this center that has been called the spiritual eye. There is, if you defocus a little bit, by intention, you can focus awareness into the energy that is here, the astral aspect of the center. And then if you defocus even further, you rest awareness in itself, so that awareness is already here, right? So you can, awareness can defocus in itself. So we will go through the 3 steps, and then we will rest here as pure awareness, eventually. But let's begin with the relaxation of the muscle system. So let us begin by taking 3 deep breaths, and during the exhalation, allow your whole body to relax from head to toe. So let us inhale and exhale, relaxing. Allow your whole body to relax. Inhale again and exhale, relaxing. Allow your whole body to relax. And once more, inhale deeply and exhale, relaxing. So gently feel your feet and consciously relax, let go of all tension in your feet, just using imagination, intention. Bring now your attention to your ankles, and same thing, allow your ankles through intention to relax. Feel now your calves and gently allow your calves to relax and let go. Feel now your knees, and same thing. Allow your knees to relax. And feel your thighs now, and allow your thighs to relax. To let go of all tension, so that your whole legs become completely and deeply relaxed. Feel now your buttocks, and same thing, allow your buttocks to let go and relax. Relax now your pelvis and abdomen. And allow now your stomach to relax. Very important. We get so much unnecessary tension in the stomach. Relax now your chest. And relax your shoulders and arms, including your hands, so that shoulders, forearms, arms, and hands are deeply relaxed. Take a moment now to relax your back, lower back, middle back, and the upper back. Allow your whole back to relax. And relax now your neck, front, back, and both sides. Front, relax, back, relaxed, both sides, relaxed. Your whole neck deeply relaxed. Now feel your jaw and take a moment to relax your jaw. Relax also your mouth and tongue. Relax your cheeks and your neck, your nose. And take a moment also to relax your eyes and eyelids. And now relax your forehead and eyebrows so that your whole face is completely relaxed. And relax now your scalp and ears. So that your whole head is completely and deeply relaxed. So that now your whole body from head to toe is deeply. Just simply let it go. Now very gently allow awareness to flow to the point between the eyebrows, the center, the sixth chakra or center in the forehead. And very gently roll your eyes a little bit upwards. With your eyes closed, you roll your eyes slightly upwards, very gently. And very gently again, smile a little bit, like the half smile of the Buddha. And keep the attention and or awareness at that point between the eyebrows. Now just using gentle intention, defocus the attention or awareness into the energy or astral part of the center between the eyebrows. Just the intention will do it. So that awareness is now focused on the astral energy of this particular center in the forehead. And has forgotten the physical. The physical is gone. There is just the astral plane. It's very easy. Awareness just follows intention. And now also through the power of intention, just the focus deeper into awareness itself, so that you go beyond the subtle energy and awareness begins to rest on itself. And you forget the physical world and the astral world. And you go back to your true nature, which is awareness. So awareness is resting on itself at the point between the eyebrows. Because awareness is not a thing, therefore, now there is nothing, no thing, just pure, empty awareness, life itself, but without things.
Please leave a message after the tone.
You can gently open your eyes when you want, and you still can continue during our conversation connected with awareness itself. And the attention or awareness can still stay focused here in the center to some degree. So the subject we have for today is not so much about connecting with the divine as we were doing a moment ago, but is healing the obstacles, the core obstacles that limit our perception of our divine nature. And we call them core issues. But before we go there, I would like to hear from you if you have any feedback in regard to the meditation we just did. You had a lot of buzzing in the spiritual eye here, right?
A lot of energy, yeah.
A lot of energy there.
Yeah.
Right. Good. Yes. So energy follows awareness. If awareness is here, energy goes there, right? The problem is that during the day, awareness is everywhere in the body, right? And if we were to focus awareness constantly here, then the energy would focus here. And the energy creates emotions. So emotion means energy in motion, right? So when we're experiencing emotions, anger, frustration, or whatever, the energy is distributed in a way that it is uncomfortable, right? So if you train yourself to direct awareness here and to stay here focused, then awareness and the energy flows to this point and the emotion is gone, right? But what is the obstacle to sustain the attention constantly and the energy constantly here is that emotions can be so strong that the energy flows into other centers. And the result of that is suffering, because negative emotion is suffering, right? Usually, not always, but usually. It doesn't feel good, right? While if your attention during the day is focused here, the day transpires in a nice way. And it's like when the attention is here, you're kind of protected. Everything tends to flow. Yeah, things tend to go right. And you feel the presence here. So where awareness is during the day, where is located? That's something we can ask ourselves. Where is awareness in my experience or the experience here? Where is awareness during the day? Is it constantly in my stomach, feeling hungry? That's part of it, right? If we feel hungry, awareness goes to the center. If we feel sexual, awareness goes to the sexual organs. And with that, energy flows there too. If we are anxious, awareness tends to flow to the chest. And too much energy here in the chest produces tension in the chest and the sensation of anxiety. So it comes to time that the attention or awareness is completely riveted here in this center. Any other feedback? Yes.
What does that look like when it's completely riveted in the center all the time?
Can you repeat?
What does that look like?
What,
how does that feel?
How it feels to have the attention riveted here all the time? It it feels like there is like something here, right? Like a throbbing tension there, or energy in the center. And it's the result of so much attention here and energy is that it's not going to the lower centers, and therefore you are at peace during the day. And things that usually would take you out of alignment, they don't disturb you.
So when your attention is riveted here during the day, you tend to be very peaceful.
Right.
And no matter what's going on around you, you maintain that peacefulness.
Right. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only way to be peaceful, that to feel peaceful during the day. There are other ways. We have discussed, resting as open awareness, which is different, right? The feeling is different. And it can produce the same feeling of peace and bliss. Yeah, but this is one way, right? And it works for some people. You just keep the attention during the day here. Now, if you meditate in the morning in the way we did today, and you focus the attention intensely for 20 minutes here, then you start the day with awareness here. And then the chances to keep the attention here are higher, right? It's easier. So yogis recommend, okay, you meditate in the morning and meditate at night, because that will help you to be more balanced during the day. It's like to keep meditating during the day.
Well, I'm pretty peaceful during the day.
Right.
But I don't know if it's because my attention is here or if it's because it's in open awareness.
It's in open awareness, right?
It is?
It could be. Yeah. If it's in open awareness, it's a very peaceful state. If it is here, it's also peaceful, right? And some yogis, they will recommend to put the attention in the heart so that during the day you feel a sense of bliss and peace, right? From the heart center. So it's very personal. You need to find what works for you. Yeah. I like to experiment. So actually I have experimented for long periods of time with open awareness, right? And then
what is open awareness?
Open awareness is kind of open. It's not focused, right? So yes, it's expansive, right? And if you use the pointer, rest as open awareness, and you just follow the pointer, and then one thing you can add is the pointer, and there is no one here. So you remove the idea of a center, that you are from a center moving into open awareness. And no, there is no center. There's just open awareness.
I think that's what I do.
Yes,
I think I do that.
it's
I don't
possible.
think I do the,
Right, right.
the third eye.
Yes. And I would say that between both options, the open awareness, especially with South Center, is higher. But this exercise to put the awareness here and focus it during the day there is also very powerful and for some people easier. So it's more about what works for you, not so much what is exactly Heidegger or what this yogi said or that teacher said or what I say. No, it's what works for you. You experiment with the tools. You have a toolbox. You experiment with the tools. You find one that works. Keep using it, right?
I don't know how it, I don't know what I'm doing. It's not like I do anything.
Right. You don't know what you're doing,
I have no idea.
but it's working.
But it's working.
Right. You're very peaceful during the day. Right. Good. That's another possibility, right? Not knowing.
So you say there's two centers you could work with an open heart?
There's more than two centers. In fact, you can work with the heart. You can work with this center. There's another center here in the back of the school, at the base of the school, and there is another center here. There are four, and yogis, according to their different traditions, they use one or the other. What I have found is that focusing here in the back gives you a sense of observation. It's like you're observing life. Focusing here gives you a sense of it's more proactive, right? But from a center of peace. So you can try, what works for you. I know you have mentioned to me that the heart center works well for you. Well, that's
naturally open.
right, naturally open. So go with that. Yeah, bliss is a good commodity.
I have that sense of bliss, and then I go out to work, and people are mad, people are upset. Everybody's dealing with something, and I don't seem to integrate well when I carry the bliss out and see what everything else is, see what other people are going through. Right?
Yeah.
I just can't integrate what's going on in the outside world, but I can do it and I enjoy it, but it doesn't seem to fit with the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
That's my experience.
Yes. But is the bliss sustained regardless of the mess outside?
I carry it with me for a while, and then it dissipates.
And then it dissipates. Yeah. So meditation in the morning gives you bliss, and then it tends to dissipate.
Yeah, but I want to carry it with me.
That's normal. You may think that when it begins to dissipate, try to take a little break and go meditate for 5 minutes and see if that brings it back, right? Yeah. Or use some pointer to bring the attention again to the chest, and or use some mantra that can keep the awareness in this center. Anyway, the subject for today is very different, right? And it's equally important, because if we have core issues, what happens is that it interferes with this type of states that we can enjoy, and they are available for us, providing that we have attained a certain healing in the mind-body organism. And core issues are really problematic, because core issues can move a lot of energy, and they can control a lot of your energy and bring it to the wrong centers, right? So we want to heal our core issues. Now I'm going to discuss how to do that, and it's not so mysterious. However, if you look into psychology, and I got trained in psychology because I practiced psychotherapy for 15 years, and I remember when I had to take the exam for the licensing, there was a question there that was the following. It was the most difficult case to treat in psychotherapy is, and they gave you several options, right? One of them was schizophrenia, a very serious condition, right? Another one was obsessive compulsive disorder, for example, and so on. There were many. And then the right answer was not schizophrenia, not psychosis, not OCD or ODD or ADD, no. All these things are easy compared with this one.
Narcissism.
Yes, personality disorders, right? Personality disorders. Now, when you look into personality disorders in the DSM-4 or the DSM-5 now, which is the manual for psychiatric disorders and diagnosis, the personality disorders are defined based on issues. So, for example, an individual is granted the personality disorder diagnosis of narcissism because they have at least 5 or 7 of 7 or 8 different issues. And then if they have 5 of 8, then the diagnosis is granted, right? And what type of issues are we talking about? Well, for example, one of them is being self-centered and unempathic, right? Having no empathy. That's one of the issues of the narcissist. And there are many more. Constantly talking about himself could be one, right? So these issues, for example, with narcissism, there was an interesting experiment that was done. And I remember we discussed that experiment in class during the master program. And the experiment was to see if meditation would help narcissism. So they recruited a group of individuals that had this diagnosis, and they put them to meditate for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and they asked them to complete a questionnaire about the personality to see their level of narcissism before and after. Meditation didn't do a dent to the narcissism. So these issues in the personality, which in the narcissist, there are quite a few, including lack of empathy.
They're always victims.
They're
always victims. It is never their fault. It's always someone else's fault.
Yeah.
Not their fault.
Right. Not taking responsibility. So this type of these issues are deep core issues in that individual. Core issues. And they are not easy to remove. They are very difficult to remove. So the problem is that we all have some core issues. And they can be represented in the personality disorders of the DSM-5, or they may not. Right? For example, I remember a core issue in a client that I couldn't help. I really tried very hard to help that woman because I felt a lot of compassion for her. But her problem was that when she was a child, something happened to her and she became extremely scared of diseases. So she developed an anxiety disorder around diseases that has a particular name. What is the name? Hypochondriasis, right? Hypochondriasis, right? So she developed a tremendously deep hypochondriasis. She was extremely afraid of diseases. So any symptom that she experienced in her body, even small, she was going into high anxiety and running to the doctor, right? So she was desperate and she wanted help. But the trauma, the original trauma that generated this, was something that happened in her family, and she got sick and she thought that she was going to die, and then she connected dying and disease in a way that triggered this anxiety disorder for life, right? And at that time I didn't have the tools to help this person, so I did the best I could. But today, with the tool that I'm going to share with you, you will see that deep issues that we all have in one way or another, that are obstructing our the progress of the mind-body organism. They can be released. They can go. So how this works? First of all, we need to understand the difference between a simple issue and a core issue. Simple issues we all have, and we can solve them with cognitive psychology, conversing with a friend, reading a book, and doing self-development, and suddenly all these small issues begin to clear, right? Core issues are not like that. They keep repeating themselves. So that's the way to know that you are in front of a core issue. It repeats itself. It repeats itself. It repeats itself. Right? So let's say the 12-step programs. They are successful where psychotherapy is not. You can't heal with psychotherapy an alcohol dependence or opiates dependence. You cannot. But the 12-step programs, they can. These programs are designed for that. And these are core issues, obviously. That level of dependence from a substance is a core issue. So before the discovery of the 12-step programs, these patients that had this problem, alcoholics, they were dying. It was considered a deadly disease, same as today we consider cancer, which is not a deadly disease. So when you see that an issue keeps coming and coming to you and coming to you, you can be sure that's a core issue. And it's extremely important that you solve it. But this is the tricky part of the subject for today. When you wake up, when you experience awakening, the fundamental insight of the awakening is there is no one here. That's what it is. You get an awakening, whether it is into the nothingness, the emptiness that the Buddhists talk about, or it is into the allness, meaning the self as the totality. There is just the self. In both cases, there is the realization that there is no one here. That the persona that we thought we were, it's an illusion. It's based on thinking. When thinking is gone, that persona is not there. There is just pure awareness. There is just the self. There is just the emptiness or the one consciousness looking through all sentient beings. And awakening reveals to you, that's the most important revelation, that that which you thought you were was a story, is a story, it's not real. You're not so and so. You're not this character that has been having all these stories through life and experiences. That character is imagination, it's pure imagination. So the problem that awakening creates is that, okay, then if there is no one here, who is going to heal these core issues that are here? And the 12-step programs is aligned with the truth that no one is here to heal these core issues. So what people do in the 12-step program, they go there and they say, I surrender to the divine can heal this, but I can't. Well, from the awakening perspective, it's the same. You say the divine can heal this, consciousness can heal this, of course it can, but I cannot heal it because I don't even exist. I'm a story character.
But if we don't exist, the core issues don't really exist either. They're part of the illusion,
Okay.
part of the story.
Okay, so Diane is saying, okay, then the core issues don't exist either. That is true. In the ultimate, it's true. But they are an obstacle. They are pulling you down anyway. And you want to stay in bliss, and you don't. You're not capable of staying in bliss because these core issues keep coming. So where is the work? We could say the core issues are there as programs in the mind-body system. They are programming in the mind-body system. And those programs can be healed. Those programs can be changed. But who is going to change them? Not the ego. The ego, this illusory self, doesn't have the power to change this. It can do a little bit, this illusory self does a little bit with normal issues. When it comes to core issues, forget it.
The ego doesn't want to change them.
Plus, the ego is not too interested in changing them. The ego can get interested in changing this type of things when the suffering is enough. And then it becomes interested, so to speak. But since the ego is a story and the core issues are very strong, then the logical thing is to rely on divine help and surrender these issues to the divine. And that's where it comes into play, the surrendering technique, right? So we will see the application of the surrendering technique now to core issues, because when you apply the surrendering technique, which I have talked about it in previous satsangs, when you're surrendering a core issue, you need to consider, you need to keep in mind some issues or factors that are different from normal issues. And we will go there. Yes.
Ask a question.
Yes.
If you've had awakening experiences and you're in the process of awakening, or if you are awakened, then yeah, I can see how you can surrender these core issues to the divine.
Yes.
But if you're still coming from the ego, if you're within the ego and the whole mindset, thought system of the ego, I don't think you could successfully surrender the core issues to the divine.
Yeah. You will see that, in fact, yes, if the ego is fed up with the suffering that that core issue is producing, it will cooperate. It will cooperate because suffering is what finally wins over the ego. That's why suffering is our teacher. It is our teacher in the sense that suffering is what prepares the ego to let go, to surrender. Let's say, for example, an individual that is dying, right? That all his life he has been into controlling. And now he's dying in a bed, facing death, inevitable, right? Many people at that moment, that ego that has been only about control their whole life, at that moment, they have the best option to let go and to surrender. So death, in many cases, is the best opportunity that a big ego has to let go. And it's when all the strategies of the ego have failed, then the ego let go.
Yes, but when you're dying, the ego doesn't care. You can let go because the ego knows you're not awakened and you're going to come back anyway. You're just going to recycle within the ego thought system. You're not going to awaken when you die. You're only going to come back. And do it again.
But there will be at least a movement towards surrendering the life of the physical body, right?
Yeah.
And that is a movement in the right direction. Because eventually, although yes, it's true that the ego will, the physical ego, the ego that we created in this incarnation, will dissolve with death. But there will be another ego behind, that is the spiritual ego, the astral ego, that will continue, which is identification with the astral body, right? So that ego will continue, but that ego is much more subtle than the physical ego. The physical ego, the human ego that we have, is very gross and is very controlling. In the astral world, especially in the higher realms of the astral world, the ego is much more subtle, and the sense of separation is also reduced very significantly. So yes, there is a sense of separation, but also it goes with a sense of oneness, right? And we have experienced those type of things, that yes, there is some separation, but there is a sense of oneness. So you see that it's not black and white. It's not that one day you are totally separated and the next day you are totally one with the divine. There is a continuum, right? Well, in the astral world, you perceive that continuum. Here we have the worst disease of separation. So the key to surrender with surrendering technique, a core issue, I would say that the key is emotion. What do I mean by that? Well, one day, because of our continuing education in psychotherapy, I went to a seminar that was presented by a kind of a famous psychotherapist, that they had a clinic that was specialized in helping young people that were into drugs and gangsters, gangs, and they had deep issues, right? So this guy made a brilliant presentation about the methods they were using in their clinic. And one thing that he said there was that for this type of issues that these people had, cognitive psychology was useless. And I was mostly into cognitive psychology. That was my specialty in psychotherapy. And personally, I have had great benefits with cognitive psychology, and I have helped many people with cognitive psychology through the years. However, his presentation and the reasons he gave kind of resonated somewhat here in the head, despite that I felt a resistance, right? What he explained was that when they were dealing with these deep issues, an intellectual understanding and insight was insufficient to do the job. That the only way to really heal these issues was to involve the emotional being, the emotional part of these individuals. So they were using techniques like dancing, moving the body, stimulating the energy in the body and the emotion, and crying, catharsis. So in regard to the surrendering technique, the same situation is valid. You can say, you can state the surrendering technique strictly from the mind, right? Let's remember the template. There are different templates, but let's say one of them. I surrender this issue, emotion or whatever, is surrendered to the divine completely. Wait, better. This issue is surrendered completely. Second sentence. It's surrendered to the divine completely, completely. Then, please take it away forever. And finally, thank you, thank you, thank you. Right? So let's say that's the template. There are different templates. This is one of them. You can say these words strictly from the mind, or you can put in them a lot of emotion. So if you want to heal a normal issue, maybe it will not matter so much how much emotion you put there. Sincerity will be enough. You will put some sincerity there, and you will see that the problem dissolves. The divine comes, consciousness comes, and helps the mind-body organism, and the problem is gone. One day you look backwards and say, oh, that used to bother me is not bothering me anymore. It's gone. But if it's a core issue, what happens is you do the surrendering technique and it comes back. The issue is back again. You do the surrendering technique again and it comes back. And it keeps coming, right? And you say the surrendering technique doesn't work. Well, here is something you can do to make it work, right? When you say these words, state them with deep emotion, with deep feeling. And I would say not only emotion, but use devotion. You can say the divine and mean very little to you, like a concept, right? Or you can say, dear one, right? And really mean it that you are connecting with love to the divine. I would suggest that you use feeling, emotion and devotion in these words, and then you will see results. Still, you may need to repeat the surrendering technique a few times. Be patient. If it's a core issue, on time, it will be solved. by the divine itself. It will be corrected. But when you do it, when you say the words, make sure you really mean them, and you really put emotion there, feeling, right? Not just words.
The challenge I have with surrendering core issues is I believe that the majority of people have repressed their core issues, and they don't even know what their core issues are because they've had years and years of repressing them.
Right. So Diane is saying that because she works in healing, and she has observed that people don't even know what their core issues are because they have been repressing them and repressing them and repressing them. And the reason they repress them and repress them and repress them is because they don't know what to do with them. They don't know how to heal them. So it's a mechanism that allows them to function. Repression is a mechanism that allows them to function, at least, right? So it is true. However, once you begin to work spiritually with intensity and you are looking for awakening and for liberation, the divine will create situations that will show you your core issues without mistake. You will see them. Perhaps not your clients, but you, I'm sure you do, right? Because you have been looking for liberation for a long time. Therefore, at this level, your core issues will be revealed. Perhaps not all at once, all of them at once, but one by one, they will be presented to you. And what do? You surrender them, right? How you surrender them? Make sure you surrender them with these two words, devotion and emotion, feeling, not just words. You need to do it more than once. Faith, you do it again, right? And you trust. The divine is going to correct this. Consciousness is going to correct this. The self is going to correct this. So you do it again until you get the response that you're looking for. Yes? Yes.
So, if I have a smoking habit or an alcohol habit, how would you phrase it? I surrender and give up my habit of smoking and drinking.
Yeah.
Put emotion and intention into it.
Right. So his question is, if I have a habit like smoking or drinking, then how I surrender it, right? Well, if it's a substance abuse issue, I would suggest that you go to a 12-step program, right? You use the surrendering technique, of course, but usually when it comes to substance abuse issues, especially drinking, right, the support of a group can also help a lot, right? Now, you can use the surrendering technique too, and the words would be something like, dear one, this bad habit of drinking, I surrender it to you completely. Please take it away forever. And then this is the template, but it doesn't limit you to use your own words and to express yourself with great feeling. I'm fed up with this. Please take it away. Take it away. I want to be free of this. Any words that create feeling and sincerity. So it is your sincerity and your feeling, your emotion, what is going to correct the situation. I remember a case, for example, years ago that I was told about a guy that he had a drinking problem, right? You know, his situation was so desperate and so horrendous. He went to a 12-step program. Finally, he was sober. A very important step, right? He attained sobriety. So he realized the blessing that this has been, right? Immense blessing. And what did he do? He began to go to his church, to a chapel, every day in the morning, first thing in the morning. And every day, at the beginning of the day, he was promising to God that during that day, he was going to be sober the whole day. And he was not going to touch alcohol at all. And he was asking help to sustain his promise. And the next day, he was repeating it. So it was, his battle was day by day, right, with this habit.
I smoked for 57 years.
You smoked for 57 years? Okay.
I read a book.
And what?
I read a book.
You read a book, yes.
When I finished the book, I quit smoking.
And after finishing the book, you quit smoking.
I don't know how I did it. I didn't even want to quit, really, but I quit.
Right.
I just quit.
So something was there in the book that impressed your mind so deeply that you quit, right? I don't know what it was.
Well, yeah, the author wrote another book on how to lose weight. I read that book, and that book did nothing.
Okay, so losing weight was not that easy, right? One thing I want to emphasize here, because at this level you're working in healing with the greatest force in the universe, which is consciousness itself, the divine itself, nothing, there is nothing that cannot be changed. Everything can be changed. And that includes even physical problems. If there is a physical problem that needs to be changed, you really want that change, and you know it's necessary for your development and your liberation, and you are sincere, there are no limits, because you're not dealing with the ego. You're not dealing with the forces of the ego. You're dealing with the forces, with the divine force. The divine force has no limits. It has complete control over creation. These issues, these core issues, are no more than deeper programs. That's what they are, deeper programs in the mind-body system. They are not part of you. You are pure awareness. But the mind-body organism is programmed, right? And some of these programs are nasty, and some of these programs are nasty, and they are deep. But they can be changed. Anything can be changed. Whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and so on. How we summon that power? How we summon that power? Through the words, but mostly through feeling, right? Feeling, not just words. So when you guide somebody, a client, a friend, into the surrendering technique, make sure when you listen their words, make sure they are stating their words with great feeling. If they are not, then you encourage them. Okay, you're doing great, but now see if you can put great feeling into these words, right? Until you hear, because when the person is putting feeling in the words, you notice it in how they state the words, in their voice, in the tone of their voice. So for those who work with the surrendering technique in healing, keep this in mind. in regard to devotion, see, we can say the word divine as an abstraction, or we may be more or less connected to that oneness at that moment. But you can relate to the divine with love, right? Now, in non-duality, we tend to look at feeling a little bit with contempt, right? Like, it's not necessary. No? Let's stay cool. Everything is just one. I would suggest that you go to the internet and look for a song called Dear One. It was written by George Harrison. In the face of his work that came after the Beatles. And he wrote this beautiful song to the one. But the words are very beautiful, and also the tune. So you can relate to the one with devotion, not just with
The One or Dear One?
Dear One.
Dear One by
Yes,
George Harrison.
by George Harrison.
We play it when we're done.
Who what?
We will play it when we're done.
Ah, okay. Yes, I'm sure it's in YouTube somewhere.
Phone has never rang so much.
Huh?
This phone has never rang so much when you've been giving songs.
Right.
I don't know what's wrong with it. I think the phone must have a virus.
Possibly.
Is there anyone there?
Not really. I mean, or they hang up or something because they don't.
Yes. Okay, questions.
So you're saying the divine is by asking the divine for guidance and help. You're setting an intention and you're asking the divine to help unfold the situation so that you can let go. Say you want to let go of family issues or family traumas.
Right. Well, letting go, when you let go of an issue, when you surrender an issue, it's always paradoxical in the sense that if there is true surrendering, you have no expectations. You're just transferring the problem from you, from your hand, to the hands of the divine. It's just a transferring. You grab it, pull it from you, and you leave it in God's hands. That's surrendering. So ideally, we don't want to have expectations, right? It's like, okay, now it's not my problem. The problem may be here, but the problem is in hands of the divine. So surrendering is highly paradoxical. Because on one hand, you want results, that's why you're doing it. On the other hand, you don't want expectations, right? In a way, what you are surrendering, along with surrendering the issue, you are surrendering the timing. You know that you will be healed, that the mind-body organism will heal, because the law of evolution is healing everything eventually, and it's going to heal everything. But you're surrendering the timing. You're not saying to the divine, okay, heal me now, because, I want it now. Right? What happens with this is that in the act of surrendering, and surrendering without expectations, you are dealing with a deeper issue, which is the deepest issue of all of them, and is the obsession with control. The ego wants to control your life. It's my life. Let me control it. I know what to do with my life. Let me control my life, right? So, but deep spirituality is about letting go of control. So now your life is not controlled by you, is put in completely in the hands of the divine. Now, how you attain that? By steps. Every time you surrender something without expectations, there's a part of you that is being surrendered, right? The ego is letting go more and more and more. So you're healing the core issue, which is the obsession of the ego with control. So even more important than healing the core issue that you are surrendering at that moment, is to heal the ultimate issue, which is control. I want to control my life. A control that is definitely a failure, because the ego is inadequate to live life. A life that is lived from the ego is always, in one way or another, a failure. Right? To the degree that we live our life completely from the ego is a failure. To the degree that we live life, we let go, and we live life more and more from a state of surrender, life becomes a success. The ultimate success is complete surrender. Deep, complete surrender, it's enlightenment. It's the same. So, and when that comes, you you were asking Diane, well, I feel this sense of peace, but I don't know if my awareness is here or is in open awareness or whatever. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's that you are already living a life that is at least very surrendered. Is that right? Maybe.
I don't really care.
Yeah.
So deep, complete surrender is enlightenment.
It is. Because deep, complete surrender gives you peace of mind under all circumstances. There is no resistance to life, to what is. And what is ultimately what is liberation or enlightenment? It's peace under all circumstances. That's what it is.
Peace under
All circumstances. Right? Any other question? I just want to encourage you to practice the surrendering technique in the way we have been talking about. Try it with great feeling, emotion and devotion, and see what are the results you get. Try it with the issues that you have never been able to solve through life, and see what happens. See how they respond. There are issues that we have become, kind of hopeless with them, and we just live with them. And yes, there is a certain peace of mind in accepting them, and that is good. But maybe, they will respond to the surrendering technique that when is practiced with deep feeling.
I have activities I have to do every day. I have to drive to job sites. I have to manage people. I have to pay bills. I have to deal with everything. Phone calls. I might make 30, 40 phone calls a day.
30, 40 phone calls a day? Wow.
I'll receive or make 30, 40 phone calls a day, so there's activity every single day, but I'm noticing throughout the day that certain things are repetitive in my mind.
Yes.
And my father is now in assisted living, and I'm thinking of all the things that happened between my father and I as I was growing up,
Right.
his behaviors and my anger towards him.
There it is.
And
Get rid of that anger.
so this
Right.
anger keeps coming up about my father.
Right. Because the anger, that emotion towards your father is triggering thinking until that anger is gone. So how you do it? You say the words. I'm going to just take the words. This anger towards my father is surrendered to the one completely. Or this anger towards my father is surrendered completely. Is surrendered to the divine completely. Please take it away. Please take it away forever. I want to be free of it. You can even ask for a replacement. Help me to love my father unconditionally. Help me to understand him. Right? Because when we have anger with somebody, it's because we are not understanding that person. See, we have a short or a limited perspective of their lives and their psychology. So suddenly we see something and, oh, this is why my father was doing this, because, oh, he went to war and in the war he was traumatized. I'm just inventing, right?
Help me see it from a different perspective.
Right. Help me see it in a different perspective. Right. Good wording.
Mainly I surrender these days thoughts. Like I'll be driving and then a thought will come in like, oh, I forgot to call so-and-so. And then I feel badly because I didn't call them and I told them I would call them.
Yes.
So I just surrender it.
You surrender the thought.
Yeah, I just say...
How you surrender it?
I just say, this thought and this feeling, this thought along with this feeling of feeling badly is now surrendered to the divine completely. Thank you.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Yes. Yeah, you're surrendering the complex, right? The complex of thoughts and feelings that Jung used to talk about. That we have complexes, right? Combinations of thoughts and feelings that are uncomfortable. Very good.
I've had to do a lot of surrendering with the rats.
With the rats.
Killing the rats.
You feel bad about killing them, or
No, I feel bad about killing them.
you do feel bad about
I feel
killing them?
really bad about killing them.
Yes. Amen. Right. Yeah. It's sad, right? When you mention that you have to answer so many calls during the day, 40 calls during the day, I noticed a certain resistance to that. Like there's a part of the mind that is not happy with that. But probably your work, the type of work that you're doing, or the dharma that you have at this moment in your life, it's called dharma, meaning the sacred job that the divine is requesting from your mind, body, organism, right? That's dharma. Your dharma is demanding this. So one thing you could do is to surrender the resistance to the 40 calls per day, right? Because since you will have to answer the phone anyway, 40 times a day, you better do it without resistance, right? So you can surrender the resistance. And you do the same. This resistance is surrendered completely. It's surrendered to the divine completely, completely. Right?
Have a secretary.
Well, if you can get a secretary, that's different. But if you can't, then it means that your dharma is to answer that phone, right? It's yours, it's not a secretary.
It's so interesting when you surrender how things can just change like that.
Yes, providing that it is not a core issue, right? If it's a core issue, then you begin to see that, hey, I surrendered it, but it didn't work that well. So when you begin to see that the surrendering technique is not giving you the result you expect, you can suspect the core issue. And then now you do the surrendering technique, but include in your practice deep feeling until you get results. And no expectations. Trust, right? Expectations are not necessary. Trust really helps. Trust that on time the divine will remove that. Another thing I would suggest is that you consider making a list of your core issues. Just ask, right? Ask consciousness to help you to identify your core issues and make a list. You will be surprised. There are quite a few. Another way that you can know that you are dealing with a core issue is that you surrender, you get a feeling, right? A negative feeling. You surrender the feeling, the emotion, right? Let's say you feel angry. Then you surrender the anger. And then at the end of the technique, you close your eyes and you ask the divine, you say, please, I want to know the origin of this emotion, of this anger. You close your eyes, you make silence, and you will get the answer immediately, many times. The answer will be in the form of an image, a flash, an echo from the past. You will remember something that was a traumatic experience that is the origin of that particular trauma, right? So now you know the origin, and you will remember what you felt at that time, right? And then you ask the following. Then you know that you are in the presence of a core issue because it was generated in during a traumatic experience. That will lead to core issues. Then you ask the third question. The second question. The first step, you surrender the emotion. The second step, you ask the question, what's the origin? The third question is, the second question or third step is you ask what was the child's role, because probably that happened during your childhood. What was the child's role that you concluded as a result of the trauma, which was a belief. Another word for child's role is a belief, a distorted belief that you concluded at that time. Right? And then, for example, I had a client that he was extremely jealous of his female companions, right? Partners. And then working in therapy, he mentioned to me that his problem was that when he was a child, his mother was bringing men to her home because that was the way she was making a living, right? And then he concluded that all women were prostitutes, because if his mother was a prostitute, then every woman is a prostitute. So his child's role at that moment was the rule he created, the belief he created is every woman is a prostitute. And then when he was engaged in couple relationships as an adult, he was always imagining that his partner was going out with any man and was disloyal to him. And he was extremely jealous. So that particular child's role, you need to discover it. It's different for everyone. So the third step is you ask for what was the child's role that I generated. What was the belief that I concluded erroneously as a result of that traumatic experience? Then the fourth step is you surrender that child's role with a surrendering technique. This child's role, you stated there, is surrender completely. Is surrender to the divine completely, completely. You go through the words, right? You surrender the child's role. And finally, the fifth step is if you can ask or you can try to remember if somebody got hurt, if you got hurt in the experience and you have anger towards anyone that participated during the experience or towards yourself. And then you proceed to forgive the other person and yourself, right? So that's the fifth step. These 5 steps is called the surrendering protocol, right? Not just the surrendering technique, but the surrendering protocol. You go through all these 5 steps. And this is a terrific technique or method for healers that want to help their clients with this methodology, right? Now, this is similar to you looking at an iceberg and you see the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is the negative emotion, the first step. If you surrender the tip of the iceberg, the negative emotion, right, you may say, okay, but all the stuff that is underneath, which is 9 parts of 10 under the water in an iceberg, is not going to go. No, it's not true. It will go. If your sincerity is there, the divine will take care of what is below the water, even if you don't do the protocol. And that's what we found with a student that I have. He uses kinesiology, and he discovered the following, that the surrendering technique, where you surrender only the tip of the iceberg, you surrender just the emotion, without the protocol, right? That you dig, is effective. And you don't need the protocol. But he also discovered that the protocol can be helpful with kinesiology, right? Why is helpful? Because you dig and you uncover an issue that is even deeper with the traumatic experience, and you heal it right there. So the surrendering protocol is helpful, but not indispensable. Your sincerity, you are feeling while you are doing the surrendering technique, it's enough. And I have seen this working. What happens is that if there is something that needs to be healed underneath that emotion, the divine will show it to you later, and then you surrender it. But anyway, you can learn the surrendering protocol, right? I offer classes on this, so you can also go to the website, and I offer a workshop of 3 hours where I teach the whole protocol. But you can also get it from this recording, right? And write down the 5 steps and begin to experiment with it until you get it.
Jim,
Yes.
I had an experience this week where, I was dealing with a core issue. But what I had to do initially to get to the core issue was totally release the emotions. Like I was feeling a lot of sadness, and I had to totally surrender to those feelings of sadness and just sob and sob. Then it was like, I'll describe it like, like a rain clearing the air.
Yes.
Then I could think clear enough to get at the rest of the, to get to any of the other stuff. Before, the emotions, and maybe, I don't know, were so clouding any kind of thinking or clearing or surrendering that it was not at all possible for me to do anything until I just allowed the emotions to run their course.
Yes, I get it.
I mean, that's just my experience.
Right. No, it's a valid experience. So, yeah, the mechanism of crying, right, in order to release emotion is a useful mechanism, right? Crying in itself will usually not heal the core issue, but it can create a certain tranquility where now you can begin to do the work, right? So that's what you did. And that is good. So a lot of people cry, everybody cries, right? And they don't get much healing. What created the healing was the combination. You did the crying, but later you also did the work, right?
Right.
Yes. Yeah, the crying is like an emotional enema, right? So you clean the slate, and now you can have more objectivity and clarity of mind to do good work, healing work.
Yeah.
Catharsis is a tricky thing. One I remember one thing in the course, the master's program in psychology. One thing I heard from a teacher that I think it was very interesting. He said, if you believe in catharsis, catharsis can heal. So I saw this working in psychotherapy. For example, a person coming with a very deep issue, right? A very painful issue, beginning to talk about the problem, begin to cry, and then as they were crying, they were telling me, oh, finally, I was able to share this with somebody. I was able to take it out. What a relief. And I realized that they believed that by crying and having a catharsis and sharing it, they were being healed. And because they had that belief system, they were healed. Actually, they were healed, right? But not all of us have that program in the mind. So most people believe that having a good discharge of emotions through crying and sharing is helpful, and it's true. But not everybody believes that because you do that, you're going to get healed, right?
Levels too. You know, you might be healed on that particular level, but then there might be a deeper level and a deeper level.
Yes.
To me, it was always like peeling away the
The onion. Peeling the onion, right? Any other question? What I like about this subject is that actually, when you begin to work in your core issues, you begin to do serious work at that level, you're very close. You're very close to the end. You're very close to the liberation that you're looking for. When you create the intention, right? I want to solve all my core issues. So that's something you may consider doing today and say, please, I want to solve all my core issues. All the core issues that are in this mind-body organism. Because they are not yours actually. Awareness, what you are really, doesn't have core issues. The core issues are debris in the mind-body system. But they are standing on the way to experience here liberation. So they need to be removed. They need to go. Otherwise, they will keep coming, right? And disturbing the peace of mind. That is your divine right as pure awareness that you are. It's your divine right. But this stuff keeps disturbing the peace. So you can create that intention and really take it seriously and say, I want to heal all my core issues. All of them.
Are you familiar with Dr. Hugh Lin?
Dr. Juan?
Dr. Hugh Lin?
No.
He is he teaches Ho'oponopono.
Oh, Oponopono, yes.
Yeah, which is an ancient
Hawaiian system,
method
yes.
of healing. He was a psychiatrist in Hawaii.
Right.
And he went to work for a psychiatric ward within a prison.
Right.
And these psychiatric patients, they were really scary.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a huge turnover of, psychologists, social workers, because these people were really, really scary.
Right.
You didn't want to walk down the hall and run into one of them.
Right.
Dr. Hugh Lin, he healed all of them without ever having a one-on-one session with them.
Right.
He never even saw them. Because he believed, based upon Ho'oponopono, that we're all one.
Right.
And he would take their chart, and he would read their chart, all the horrible things they had done, and he would say, Dear God, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Because he would identify with them.
Right.
And he would take on all of their horrible, crimes.
Right.
Because we're all one.
Right.
And he kept doing that and doing that. And within 2 years, that the mental institution that was closed,
Was
people
closed.
were all healed.
Beautiful, yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is amazing, yes. Yes. Yeah, and it's at a certain, at the deep level of reality, we're all one. That is true. At the deepest level, we're all one. So the most powerful level, at the most powerful level, we're all one. It's just one. There is just the self.
We're just fragmented parts of the one self.
Sorry?
We are just fragmented parts of the one self.
We imagine to be fragmented parts
Right, we
of the
think
self.
we are,
Right.
yeah.
Because actually there is just the self and the rest is imagination.
Right.
Okay, well, any other question or comment or sharing? The Ho'oponopono, by the way, the Ho'oponopono technique, which is these three words, right? Is I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, right? I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, thank you. These three words, so simple, these three things, right? And so powerful. In a way, it's similar to the surrendering technique. Very simple, very, very simple. And simplicity is powerful. I remember reading the Ho'oponopono technique in the Wikipedia, and they talk about 14 steps, which is a lie, right? It's not like that. And then commenting, somebody there commenting in Wikipedia that it is a complex technique, right? And I said, what is this, right? Who is controlling this page? Well, my confabulation theory, right? But actually, it's just three or four. In some versions, I think it's four. It's I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's the four steps, right? And the three steps version is you eliminate the I love you. So it's such a simple technique, and that's where the power lies. And the technique, the surrendering technique, is also so simple. It's this emotion, you put the name of the emotion there with one word, is surrendered completely. Surrender to the divine completely, completely. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
If he could do that with all of those mentally disturbed people, if he could heal them all without even seeing them, just by reading their chart and saying that over and over. I mean, my God, we could heal that guy in North Korea.
Yes.
You know?
We could. We could.
We could heal Trump.
And the souls, there are souls that are specialized in this type of work at a distance, and they're usually they are called, if you read the book of Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton, you will find that they are called the harmonizers. So they work with groups and they work with governments and leaders to help them to heal, and they do it at a distance. And many yogis have said, that the world is, including David Hawkins, that the world is really sustained by a few sages. Otherwise, the world would have dissolved in a catastrophic. Hawkins says that just a few sages that are calibrating so high are sustaining the world in its place. Okay, let's stop here. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you came, and for your very good participation. And let's call it a day.